Hello and welcome back to Tima Ballers podcast for a Premier League preview. As a fan, I will be now taking a look at what is to come this weekend. I'm a fan, you're a fan, and as always, this channel, this podcast is all about fan opinion. I'm no big YouTuber with vested interest. I'm not the mainstream media with agendas. I'm here to give you my own genuine, authentic, and unique approach and take on what is going to happen this weekend and the broader implications for the Premier League because there's so many things going on. Let's get into it. Title race, relegation battles, underperforming, crisis, genius, brilliance. Come on, so many things going on. So first of all, let's talk about Arsenal, who obviously slipped last time. In my previous episode, we talked about Arsenal and City bottling it. And now Arsenal are going to play Everton, who are also in a very difficult position. So another test for Mikel Arteta. And I think that the thing with Arsenal, right? I said last time how the problem with Arsenal is the mentality. And this is an interesting game. It's a home game for Arsenal. Everton you wouldn't expect them to be a massive challenge. Obviously, Everton are quite good at set pieces. They're quite they've got the physicality aspect to them. They've got players like Tarkowski and Calvert-Lewin. So I wonder how Arsenal will be able to impose their kind of set piece strategy on Everton, who are also good at set pieces. So we've kind of got a battle of two teams, both kind of relying on set pieces. So we'll see what's going to happen. That's an interesting one right there. I think with Arsenal, the fundamental issue is, first of all, the mentality problem. And I think it's about time to have a conversation about Mikel Arteta. I was listening to AFTV Forever podcast, and they were talking about Mikel Arteta. I think it's safe to say that going into this season, there was pretty much unilateral support for Mikel Arteta from probably all Arsenal fans and even from most football Premier League fans. Because undeniably what he's done is quite incredible. He's taken his club from 8th place all the way up to a Premier League title challenge, finishing 2 points off City, 89 points. Which Arsenal fan could have ever dreamed of scoring 89 points? And of course, context is important. They are going up against one of the greatest ever sized teams in the Premier League of Man City, who also kind of have 115 charges, by the way, but I'm not going to be cheeky and start getting into all that. But yeah, objectively, Man City are a phenomenal side, so finishing second to them is something we Liverpool fans know a lot, unfortunately, so I'm not going to banter Arsenal for finishing second, 2 points away. 89 points is very impressive. So obviously Mikel Arteta's achievement is unquestioned. He's transformed the squad. It's a very young, promising squad, which has realistically will only get better because Bukayo Saka will get better. Declan Rice will get better. It's stunning to think that Saliba is like 22. I think he's 23. He's very young as well. Gabriel still probably will reach his prime as well in the future. So much potential in that team. But the problem with Arteta right now is that I think there's a beginning of a slight growing murmurings across the Arsenal fan base. Just slight, not Arteta out or anything, but more just like people are starting to question him a little bit. They're starting to question the fact, is he really on the right track? Are Arsenal going forward? Because over the period of multiple years, they've been building 8th, 5th, 2nd, 2 points off 89 points. They've been improving more and more. The football's getting better and better. The results were getting better. And they were edging closer and closer to a Premier League title. And last season, even being in the Champions League, getting to the quarter-final is something that, for Arsenal, obviously, big achievement. They weren't in the Champions League for 6 years. So, undeniably, they were on this upward trajectory. And then suddenly, this season, they're already 3rd place in the league. They're 6 points off top. And Liverpool have got a game in hand. So, and the biggest problem for Arsenal is that this whole Man City argument can't work anymore. You finished second twice, so you were supposed to be the team to pounce upon Man City and win the league. Liverpool are 6 points clear of you with a game in hand. Chelsea are 2 points ahead of you. And then that really undermines this whole argument of Arsenal being the successors to Pep's era. They're meant to be the next ones, and fundamentally they've not been that. They have stumbled many times this season. Arteta has shown multiple errors, I think, in terms of lineup decisions, just not always getting things right, just sometimes playing players out of position. For instance, having to move Jurriën Timber over to the other side. Then certain substitutions, you could argue, also being questionable. So, Trossard was benched when he was doing well sometimes. Then Trossard's forms dips. Then you got the whole thing with Sterling where he's not being played at all. So what's happening there? Apparently Mikel Merino is being played out of position. So you do have some squad issues. You've had some injuries. You've had some disciplinary issues where players have been getting red cards a bit too much, which is completely undermining their performances, because those 3 games where they got red cards, not a single win, right? Only 2 points out of 9 because of the red cards, arguably. So yeah, obviously that's been a problem, and the red cards isn't something Arteta is at fault, of course. That's not his fault, but certainly the team dynamics overall and the progression upwards, the lack of domestic trophies is certainly something that Arsenal fans are beginning to question. Am I Arteta out? Do I think he should leave? Should he actually genuinely, should the conversation of his sacking begin were Arsenal not to win the league this season? No, I think it depends. Let's theorize. If Arsenal finish where they are now, 3rd place, no, he's not getting sacked. If they finish 4th place, I don't think he's getting sacked. It's a long-term project. If there are obviously circumstances, those being injuries, certain problem, just being unlucky, red cards and everything, I think maybe they'll just wait another year and see what happens next, because he's still a very talented manager. And you look at the manager market, who will replace him? I just don't really see that many options. Who could replace Arteta? Now's a time where getting managers is harder than ever. And, who would you get? Seriously, who would you get? Who would replace Arteta? Ten Hag? I don't know. I've got no idea. So it's very hard to say who will replace him. It depends who is available. So that's obviously a consideration to be held. I think if Arsenal finish 2nd, he will definitely stay. And that will not be a terrible season finishing 2nd. If they were to finish 2nd to Liverpool, okay, that would not be a disaster. Obviously, they'd be quite disappointed. I think any scenario where they win a trophy, be that a cup or hypothetically the Champions League, I think that'd be phenomenal. Any trophy to add to their collection would be really good. And of course, Arsenal do have a very decorated history, so they are very, very keen now to add to their trophies. It's been 4 years since the FA Cup win in 2020. So absolutely, I think I do think Arteta has talent, but questions are being asked already. And personally, my prediction is I do think that Arsenal will finish 3rd behind. I think City will be 2nd, Arsenal 3rd. I think Chelsea will drop off and be 4th. I'll still hold to. I have kind of changed my predictions. I do think Liverpool will win the league for obvious reasons. I think City will finish 2nd because they will bounce back and find a way. I think Arsenal will finish 3rd because I think what's going to happen is they're not going to stumble that much. I don't think they're going to have any terrible patches of form. But what will happen is, because they're so close to City, it'll be a tight battle. And probably City towards the end of the season will pick up more than Arsenal will. So Arsenal most likely will finish on a decent points total. Maybe 75, 80, 82. It'll still be a decent finish, I think, for Arsenal. But it will just not be as brilliant as last season. Then going into some other fixtures to talk about. Let's talk about, obviously, Liverpool. I think there's not much to say in terms of, we are top of the league by 4 points from Chelsea. We've got a game in hand. Last time around, we didn't even play a game, and we arguably won the weekend because 2 of our main rivals, Arsenal and City, have dropped points. And fantastic, they've dropped points, and we relaxed, let our players rest. Obviously give them all a rest. Alex McAllister gets a 2-week holiday basically, so that's fantastic. It's great news for Liverpool to get this rest, to relax, recover, and be ready, because we've got a massive fixture list. It's 6 games in 19 days, but luckily these aren't very difficult games. We have officially passed this terrible patch of difficult games, which everyone said we will apparently not do well in. Just reminding again, Newcastle draw, Man City win, Real Madrid win, Southampton win, Aston Villa win, Bayer Leverkusen win, Brighton home and away win, Arsenal draw, Leipzig win, Chelsea win. So phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. That, if you were to look at all these games, that's absolutely fantastic. To pick up the number of points we've had is just brilliant. We've proved the doubters wrong. People try to doubt us at every single stage. At every single stage this season, we have been doubted. When the season began, Klopp left, Liverpool will drop down to 8th. Slot, he hasn't got much experience. This and that, haven't had the right signings. Liverpool are a mess, blah, 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 all that sort of nonsense. Liverpool get to a good start. They're only playing the easy teams, only teams in the bottom 14. It doesn't matter. Liverpool, easy games. Once they face a more difficult side, they'll drop points. we keep on winning. Ah, it's okay, don't worry, there's a difficult fixtures ahead. Surely Liverpool will stumble then. Now we're through all those games, so I wonder what people will have to say now. And now it's sometimes now the narrative's changed again to be more like, actually Liverpool have all had phenomenal players. Of course, they've had, quote Simon Jordan, an embarrassment of riches. So of course Liverpool should have won the league easily with this set of players. It's interesting, isn't it? First they were predicting us 8th, then 3rd, then 2nd, and now they're saying we should have won anyways. Of course we shouldn't have. You were first writing us off in the beginning of the season, then you were flat out denying our success in the beginning of the season, then you began to acknowledge it, then you had to accept it, and now you've turned the argument around to say, actually, the squad's been brilliant anyways. I don't get this. And now some people are even saying that, well, you were playing a bad Real Madrid and a bad Man City. What? What do you mean? How can you play a bad Real Madrid and a bad Man City? They were bad because we were good. If a team plays badly, that means the other team was playing well to make them play badly. It's not like we were terrible and Man City was scoring 2 own goals. We dominated, we pressed, we fought hard on the pitch, and we earned those wins by being brilliant. So let's not pretend like Man City and Real Madrid have now turned into League 2 teams and they were all playing terrible and we should have won anyways. Of course not. Beating Real Madrid and Man City will always be seismic, and part of the reason why they've done poorly is because we've done well. We've pressured them into a position where they did poorly. You can't now start saying, well, Real Madrid lost to Barcelona, they lost to AC Milan, so they're bad. Of course they're not. Have you seen Real Madrid? As far as I'm concerned, they're still a top side, and beating Real Madrid and Man City will always be a phenomenal achievement, especially given the fact we did it back-to-back. We did it in such a short period of time. Yes, those were 2 home games, but we've had a lot of games before. We've had games afterwards. We've had some injuries. So the way we've been able to handle those games was absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, the doubters, the haters can say whatever they like, but we're phenomenal and things are going very well. I have no problems whatsoever being happy in this position and saying that we will win the league. Why not? Let's enjoy it. I'm not going to be one of those fans to be like, we can't say it now. It's only Matchday 14. I'm not going to say anything. No, we can't win the league. Come on, let's have some fun. We're 4 points clear with the game in hand from Chelsea. We're 6 points clear of Arsenal, and then 8 points clear of City with the game in hand. Come on, let's enjoy the moment. We're in a great position. We're doing brilliantly. We're the best team in the world right now. Let's enjoy the moment and have fun. Why not? So let's have a look at what else is going on in the league. And by the way, I don't know if you've noticed or not, but I have not done any notes, any preparation for this. I've literally just sat down, I've got my phone, I've got live score, I've got the fixtures, and I've got the league table. I've got absolutely nothing else. This is all completely improvised. I want to take a honest and fair and unprepared assessment to capture my true views, if you know what I mean. So let's talk about Tottenham playing Southampton. And obviously, this game is always an interesting one because we know the obviously infamous Conte rant after they drew 3-3 to Southampton, where he basically went out and, he basically roasted the entire of Tottenham and their ownership model. And yeah, of course, he did get sacked afterwards, but that was a rather interesting interview. Will certainly go down as one of the greatest interviews of all time in the Premier League. That was quite some powerful words he had to say, but Tottenham plays Southampton away. Look, Tottenham are a very, very, very interesting team. I mean, seriously, I've not seen this ever before. I know I've not been watching football for that long, perhaps, but I've never seen a team go from such highs to such lows. I've never seen a team, so they battered Aston Villa 4-1. They beat Man City in the Cup. They then lost to Galatasaray and to Ipswich Town at home. They then produced arguably the greatest win of their entire time in the Premier League, 4-0 beating Man City at the Etihad. They then proceeded to draw Roma Fulham, lose to Bournemouth and lose to Chelsea. Seriously, can we at some point just say, what is going on? Seriously, what is going on with that club? How can you go from such stellar brilliance, producing beautiful silky football and dismantling Man City, to them being absolutely battered by mid-teams, some of them literally in the relegation zone like Ipswich? So it's crazy. Spurs, This is Spurs, I guess. Wow. I mean, I don't like to believe in things like Spursism, but I think Spursism might actually quite literally exist because this is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. The way you've gone from highs to lows within the same season. And I mean, you might remember a while back in one of my episodes, I talked about what I said Ange theory. And essentially, what I said is that Ange Postecoglou is almost trying to bully his players into playing his style of football because he's willing to perhaps take the L right now, but in the hopes of building something for the future. Because the problem with Spurs is the mentality. The players don't have a winning mentality. The club overall haven't got the winning mentality, and arguably nor do the fans. And the biggest evidence was last season when they essentially the fans wanted Spurs to lose to City so that Arsenal would not win the league. But although that kind of compromised their Champions League hopes, so it's pretty crazy, right? I think it's never right to want your team to lose. I always want Liverpool to win. Couldn't care less about United because what I care about is my team. And being in the Champions League is far more important always than your rivals doing this and that. That's just pure speculation, and you should be focusing on yourself. So maybe what I said was Ange was doing is he's trying to enforce a style of play, turn those players into winners, make them suffer right now, make them run about, make them press, make them play, make them get beaten up on the pitch, but stand up, keep going and keep going and keep going, and eventually you will get it. Because maybe that's the mentality which you need to develop, that ability to keep going, not give up, and at some point you know that your efforts will come good. But it's also reaching a point where clearly Ange Postecoglou is tactically making so many errors. The set pieces is a joke. That has nothing to do with your philosophy. Being incompetent at defending a set pieces is something that should be fixed on the training ground. These players are not incompetent. These players should be able to defend. It's not like all of Tottenham players are completely incompetent and cannot play football. They can. Clearly, they need someone to help them, to coach them into it. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, they don't have a set-piece coach. And Ange Postecoglou has clearly said that he does not want a set-piece coach. And by the way, Tottenham, a team that sit 11th place in the league. 11th place in the league. You've been embarrassed and humiliated time and again. And you're still saying, no set-piece coach, I'll keep going, I'll keep doing this and that. But equally, I get what Ange is doing. I get why he does not want to change completely. Because if he were to completely change his style of play, that will reverse all the progress that he's been trying to make. All the efforts are all put in the bin, and he will no longer be Ange Postecoglou. He has to retain that style of play, undeniably. I will agree there as well. But where I disagree is you have to make some changes, and one of the changes being learning how to defend from set pieces. Perhaps playing a slightly, I'm not saying don't play a high line, but just make it a little bit deeper. Defend a little bit more. Be a little bit more careful. You have to game manage a little bit better. And that's something that he's not been doing. That's something they've not been doing. And actually, they've been chaotic. Sometimes they're scoring plenty of goals, sometimes they're not. The funny thing is, they've scored 31 goals. So they have scored the second most goals in the Premier League, joint with Brentford. They've scored more goals than Liverpool. And they've only conceded 19 goals, which is less than teams above them. A lot of teams above them have conceded more goals. Brentford, for instance, conceded 28 goals, and yet somehow they are 9th and Tottenham are 11th. And that comes from that inconsistency factor where sometimes Spurs are just brilliant and phenomenal, and then they switch back to being terrible and losing to the Crystal Palace, losing to Ipswich Town. That is absolutely unacceptable, and there's something just wrong with the team. Is it to do with the players? Are the players just not good enough? No, I think that they've got a decent team. I will stand by my original comments I made, my predictions, that Spurs are a decent side. I think Dominic Solanke's a good striker. I think they paid too much money for him, but he's decent. I think Heung-min Son is still very good. Brennan Johnson has proven a lot of people wrong this season. He scored quite a decent number of goals. I think they've got Kulusevski, they've got Maddison, Van de Ven, Romero, Ndogi, Pedro Porro, Vicario, who's injured now, but nonetheless, that's a decent team. That's a decent team which should be up there at least somewhere around 5th, 6th, 7th, or at least 8th, but you can't be down in 11th place. And they are 3 points off 10th as well, so things are looking quite bad for Spurs. They're more and more they're distancing themselves away from the top four and from those European spots, which obviously would further compromise their position. Well, I mean, you have a fantastic, beautiful stadium, but you can't even play European football there. So my thoughts on Ange is he's gonna stay, of course, for now. I certainly think the questions are being asked. A lot of Spurs fans are turning against him, but if I were to be a Spurs fan, which I'm not at all, I will say that you have to back Ange for now. You have to keep backing him because if you sack him, I'm sorry, you've had Antonio Conte, who is he's a winner. He's won everything. He's literally won so much. You've got Jose Mourinho, who is literally one of the biggest winners in terms of winning trophies, and you've still won nothing. So how about finally you stop sacking the manager and look at yourself, right? Stop trying to sack the manager and say it's the manager's fault. Manager's fault. We get it. There is manager's fault. We get that Ange Postecoglou is not perfect. But how about you try to stick to a plan? You try to develop your style of play. Obviously, changes have to happen, but equally, you've got to back the gaffer. You've got to back the manager in this case, I think. In the sense that if you start sacking him, you're just restarting the cycle again. And you will be stuck in the cycle of not winning anything. Because you sack Ange Postecoglou, who will you bring in? Tell me right now, who will you bring in? Who? Zidane? Will Zidane come to Spurs? Will Thomas Tuchel decide to leave England and for some reason go to Spurs? Will Carlo Ancelotti just come running into Spurs? No. So how about you stick with Ange for now, give him some more time, let him work on it, and realize that progress takes time. Arteta did not become good in one season, neither did Klopp. Things take time. So let Ange Postecoglou have his time, let him work on things, and let's hope he does better, because I do want Spurs to win something. It's kind of, it is a little bit sad that they're actually not winning anything. I have nothing personal, nothing against Spurs, because I'm a Liverpool fan. Why would I? I sort of have, I guess, a little bit of a grudge against them that they drew us at Anfield in 2022 when we finished 1 point off the league. And of course, that was frustrating. You know, we were on this phenomenal run and then we drew Spurs and then we lost the league. So that's kind of annoying, but equally, you know, you can't have a grudge against every single team who you drew or lost in the past. So, look, I wish Spurs all the best. But the situation with Spurs is crazy. But looking, of course, at some other massive games, the Manchester Derby. How can I not talk about this? I always like watching a Manchester Derby. That's Sunday, 4:30 London time. Wow, that's going to be huge because you've got two Manchesters who are massively underperforming. You've got City 8 points off the league, and City and Liverpool have got a game in hand. You've got Manchester United down in 13th place with 2 consecutive defeats. So, look, things are looking really, really, really bad for both sides. Because, from one hand, Man United have got this crisis. They've got a crisis on the pitch and off the pitch. Off the pitch, Dan Ashford leaves. He's been on guarding duty all this time. They've put all this effort in trying to bring him in. Now they've sacked him. Now they've got issues. Now, apparently, he's the one who decided to keep Ten Hag, and makes no sense because he only started apparently in July and Ten Hag was kept in June. So I don't really get how that could possibly work unless he was working when he's not supposed to, which is then technically illegal or whatever it is. I'm not a legal expert to tell you I don't even know completely what is gardening leave, but whatever it is, I'm sure he was doing some gardening in that time, but that's a mess. Then you've got all sorts of problems with the fans because, look, Manchester United's owners, INEOS, so far, what they're doing could be called asset stripping because they're trying to just absolutely squeeze the club and get all the possible costs down to a point where you're cancelling the staff Christmas party, you've reduced the annual Christmas bonus for staff from £100 to £40, you've removed staff lunchboxes, you've also raised ticket prices, you've raised child ticket prices, so you're trying to do all you can to try to cut costs. And then, ironically, you've got all these people on these gigantic wages. So, if I were a United fan, I'd be absolutely going crazy. I mean, I'd be absolutely infuriated that you are pretty much mistreating your staff whilst paying someone like Casemiro £350,000 a week. Because surely, calling off a staff Christmas party is not the solution to Man United. And no, I will not take this nonsense about you've got to cut costs everywhere. No, you don't. Technically, you can cut costs by sacking all the staff, getting AI to run the whole club. hypothetically, that's not the answer. There's got to be a reason, because at this point you are humiliating yourselves. All us rival fans will look at you and laugh. The fact that you're in such a terrible state that you've got to cancel staff Christmas parties to afford new signings. You're having to cut staff bonuses to afford new signings. That is how rubbish your club is being run. That's how terrible that it's. I mean, are you joking? Seriously, a club that earns hundreds of millions of pounds is cutting the annual bonus for. There aren't even that many staff at Man United. It's not like they've got 250,000 people working for them. And to cancel the Christmas party is just a joke. Absolute joke, especially given how much effort staff put in compared to players, in the sense that, ordinary working people work so much and get paid so little, and then these footballers are working £350,000 a week. And of course, the players have it the hard way, of course, as always. People, I think, forget how most people work, and that these footballers get it, trust me, a much easier way than the average person having to work all day long just to earn a living. So let's not forget that. And of course, that's always, we almost must consider, income inequality. So, what I'm trying to allude to this is basically how it sounds like complete hypocrisy to be keeping people like Casemiro on 350k a week, to be giving Bruno this huge new contract where he's going to be earning like 300k a week. You've spent so much money on signings, and then you're cutting staff bonuses by £60, and you're cancelling a party. It just does not make sense personally for me. I think that's that doesn't speak well of your business or who you are, really. So far, INEOS not really impressing. Man United in 13th place. They've sacked their manager. They've moved on Dan Ashworth. You've brought all these people in, you brought in Dan Ashworth, you brought in Wilcox, you brought in Berardi, you got people like Blanc, Sodero Brailsford, all these people who are meant to be like brilliant, but it's not really working, is it? Because right now the results on the pitch are terrible. And Ruben Amorim, he's come in, he was meant to be the guy. People really thought that Ruben Amorim ball has started, and look what's happened. Ipswich Town, draw, barely beat Bodo Glimt, beat Everton, and then lost 2 consecutive games. I'm not going to say it should have been Ruud van Nistelrooy, but Van Nistelrooy came in 3 wins in 4. 3 wins in 4 and a draw against a very good Chelsea side. So, look, respect to Ruud van Nistelrooy, and I wish him all the best at Leicester City. I think Leicester are quite a decent club, so I hope he does well for them. Obviously, I feel sorry for Steve Cooper for getting sacked, but I think appointing Ruud van Nistelrooy was a very bold move by Leicester. But yeah, I am diverging here. Back to kind of the Manchester derby. Man City, massive question mark here. Because obviously they've had this horrendous run of 7 defeats in 10 games, having been beaten by Juventus 2-0 as well. So that's a big blow for them. And now this game is almost like, if Manchester United beat them at the Etihad, that will be crisis of crisis. It's a crisis already. It will be a crisis squared. It might be a crisis cubed if they continue losing to Villa, Everton, Leicester and West Ham, which are their fixtures coming up. So very difficult for Man City, but I still think Man City will win. I do think they'll win purely because of how disorganized, disorientated and lost Manchester United look. And Ruben Amorim, as I said that this formation is going to take time to adapt. This will not be easy, guys. It's not like he's going to come in and be like, I'm the magician, I'm a wizard. Boom, you're all playing brilliantly. You're trying to go from a 4-3-3, which they couldn't play, to now playing a new formation which no one knows about. So good luck with that. As I said, short-term pain for Manchester United, and I'm being proved right. So, good prediction right there. Of course, if they move on to destroy Man City, I'll be like, okay, maybe Ruben Amorim ball does exist. I don't know. We'll see, of course. We'll see. And of course, we got Chelsea playing Brentford. Let's see if Chelsea will be able to keep up the win streak, 4 wins in a row. So, not bad, Chelsea. Come on. Let's see what you got. So, of course, thank you for listening. Please do subscribe to the YouTube channel, Tima Baller. Leave a comment, like the videos. Follow me on other podcast platforms. Spread the word. I would really appreciate the support from all of you. I know that a lot of people on YouTube who are listening aren't subscribed, so please do subscribe. Thanks so much. I wish you all the best, and I hope this will be a fantastic Premier League weekend. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.